I need people to know that, like, mental things it's scary.
Don't judge.
I actually have a consultation with a therapist who specializes in BPD. I was diagnosed with those things a couple years ago. I don't have BPD, you have obesity.
Don't judge.
People with BPD get judged even by other therapists.
Girl, you're weird.
I was diagnosed with BPD and CPTSD. A lot of the things that I've done has been because I have BPD. I have used it as an excuse, having BPD, for all of these things. Moody, I'm a mess, I'm restless, I'm depressed. I want this Amberlynn to just like go away. I like to reflect. I'm very much a reflector. I don't manipulate people.
As soon as she would turn on the camera, it would be a completely different person.
I'm not the freaking problem. I have taken accountability for the things that I've done. Hello. BPD girl. It's ready.
Hey girls, it's your girl, BPD girl. I was watching a bit of this on Bottle's channel, but I just got so riled up. I just feel like I need to watch this and respond to it in real time. Just have so much energy that I need to get out, and I feel like reacting to this video is going to get a lot of that out. Of course, I have a lot of opinions about this, but yeah. Let's get into it. Okay guys, so I actually just got out of the shower and I wasn't gonna do this. This was not gonna be something that I was gonna do. And now that I have like a whole YouTube schedule going, I don't know where this would fit in my schedule. And I want to get this out like now. So I don't normally do reactions to reaction channels, but I feel like I'm done like zipping my lip, you know? And when it comes to this topic, wait, when she says now, when did she record this? So I don't normally do when now. She hasn't. I don't think she's specified. I'm gonna have to watch this again. I don't think she's specified when is now, because last time she said that, she still took like another another nearly a week to put out this video that she felt like had to come out urgently. But I know this video is about salty crab, so I'm gonna assume it really wasn't that long ago, because she was making a big deal. Well, making a she was really upset about this. She said that, and she's probably going to bring it up. Again, I don't agree with all the things that reaction channels that I watch say. Sometimes I feel like it's a bit too much. I get Mr. Snowflake calling her mop legs. Because honestly, where's the lie? Where's the lie? But Raglan bleed. Look, I get Raglan because she wasn't using rags just to like clean blood. She was using rags to clean poop and I guess pee. Get that she was, I guess you could call it free bleeding. I get that she had cancer. It's just like a lot of people have said, it's like she knew what was going on and she actively chose not to do anything about it, which is crazy. As someone who is chronically ill, I actually find it insane that you have the means to like actually do something about your health. You just actively choose to do nothing. Just choose to technically free bleed everywhere in front of people. Do I think it's acceptable to call her Raglan bleed, specifically include the bleed part? No, I don't really agree with that personally. But again, that's just my opinion. I think Amberlynn brings up anytime she can to be like, oh, I had cancer. You're making fun of me. And it's like, bro, not everything's about your cancer. So I don't normally do reactions to reaction channels, but I feel like I'm done like zipping my lip, you know? And when it comes to this topic, it's near and dear to me, obviously. I had cancer. It was traumatizing. I genuinely thought I was gonna die. I get that, but again, you didn't really do anything about it until it was like really bad. And that's not to say that just because you have health issues, it must automatically be cancer. But it's like if you have any significant health issues and you're choosing to just ignore it is actually crazy to me. When I say that's crazy, I mean specifically regarding Amberlynn, who had the financial resources to actually do something about her health, unlike the average American, which generally can't afford something like that. I had to do invasive surgery at over 500 pounds because of my cancer. So sure, it is really risky to have a surgery like that at 500 pounds. The thing is, being 500 pounds significantly increased the risk of her having cancer in the first place. Obviously, it's not up to her to tell us everything about her family's medical history, but generally stuff like that runs in the family. And that's not to say that's always the case, but maybe if she took her health more seriously, it wouldn't have gotten that bad, but who's to say? For another YouTuber to create a nickname, Raglan Bleed, well, already they're hypocritical, they're biased. I have made it very clear on my Instagram that that is fucked up. I've also made it very clear during public live streams and during my members only live streams. And this YouTuber just keeps going back and forth with me, trying to like twist the narrative of why they, you know, named me Raglan Bleed when it's very obvious why they did it. And they're trying so hard to like turn it into like an okay nickname. So, well, I've watched Salty Crab talk about it, I'd have to watch it again just to like get a refresher on what she said about the whole Raglan bleed section, even though I literally watched it, I don't know, either today or yesterday. Blah blah blah. I just watched a new video. The first 5 minutes is still her talking about your cancer and bleeding. He has no human decency for you. I think Salty Crab does have human decency. It's just that I do think the Raglan bleed, especially the bleed part, it wasn't very nice. That's just my opinion. Raglan, I think, is perfectly acceptable. The bleed part, I think, is taking it a bit too far. Blah blah blah. I can't imagine having my life on blast like that. They're only making you stronger and they hate to see it. Oh my god, I chose not to watch Salty's new video because of the title. She is biased, it is sick. But if she is mentioning my cancer, I think I'm going to listen real. She definitely talks about it, even mentions the pics. She even mentions the pics you posted to Snap of you bleeding and stuff, which I didn't know about. She's trying to make a different narrative about why she called you that name. I think it is crazy that Amberlynn did post all of that online. I think a lot of it was for sympathy. I get where Salty Crab is coming from. Trying to make silly jokes. I do think it was a bit too much to say Raglan bleed. I feel like that was like, look, I'm not protecting Amber. I'm just standing by the fact that I really don't think, just personally don't agree with calling her Raglan bleed. Again, the bleed part specifically.
So my friend sent me this message that you are seeing here, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to react to this first 5 minutes because I want to know what they say, so let's do it. I want to be able to respond. By the way, this YouTuber does not show their face because they're too scared, so all you need to hear is their voice.
Right.
Let's do it.
Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Happy Thursday. And before we get started today, I just want to talk a little bit about what happened last night, or should I say very early this morning. If you missed it, Amberlynn went live for about an hour and a half, and it was pretty much just a part two to the members only stream she did, because it was almost exactly the same thing. She was, in my opinion, very manic. She was crying.
Okay, so mental health shaming.
Bro! This is the part where I was like, bro, be so for real. Be so for real. I was manic. That's mental health shaming. Bro, where?
Bitch, where?
Be so for real. Where was the shaming? Where was the shaming, Amber? Let's just go back.
Only stream she did, because it was almost exactly the same thing. She was, in my opinion, very manic. She was crying.
Okay, so mental health shaming.
Oh my god, it's not picking me up because I'm yelling. Where was the shaming? Where was the shaming, Amber? As someone who experiences bouts of hypomania or manic-like symptoms, or mania-like symptoms, I personally don't see any shaming in this. So basically, mania is, or manic episodes are more, according to the DSM-5, which is like basically the Bible for mental health professionals, a manic episode specifically is regarding bipolar disorder, regarding hypomania. Hypomania, I guess, is pretty similar to a manic episode, but with both, you need like about a week of consistent mania for it to be a manic episode or considered hypomania. But I have, and Amberlynn probably does experience something similar. I personally experienced something quite similar to hypomania, but generally it lasts maximum like a few hours to like a day. Where is the mental health shaming by saying she seemed manic when she was live streaming? Where?
1 second laughing, the next second acting very just above it all, while
I'm telling you, my moods genuinely are bouncing back and forth. Like 1 minute I am crying, 1 minute I'm laughing, 1 minute I'm doing both at the same time. 1 minute I feel despair, 1 minute I feel hopeful. It is what it is. That's where I'm currently at right now with my mental health.
But where's the shaming? Where's the shaming? Tell me how is that shaming?
still having to get digs in on people. Most of the things that she said were just her repeating what she said in the member stream. In my opinion,
A lot of people don't get to see, so I'm glad that I had that public live stream for people, because some people can't pay for my members only.
I felt like she was doing that. She did the stream because she kind of wanted to get the attention off of Beck and Destiny's video from...
Definitely not. Beck and Destiny's video genuinely sucked. Like, okay, screenshots from 9 years ago. I'm sorry I was hurt. I'm sorry I was desperate for attention.
earlier. Yeah,
Aw, bro. Bro, where? Think she's embarrassed? Understandably, I'd be fucking embarrassed. But I really don't think she's sorry. I think it's more sorry I was caught. I don't think there's actual reflection on her parting, being sorry for those things, because she's repeated, she says she reflects, and then she still continues to do the same actions. And it seems like she literally did the same thing with Tommy. It's crazy.
Yesterday, she wanted to make everybody talk about her and what happened in the live stream, but honestly, like I said, it was just a repeat of the other night. Nothing really
And yet you watched it, didn't you?
new came out
Okay, Smuglynn Reed.
of the stream, and I don't think I'm gonna cover it because as I was
Don't.
watching it, nothing really stood out to me. She was mostly just reading the nice comments people were leaving.
I think I know why they're actually talking about this, because in that live stream, I straight up asked Salty Crab a question, and I think they might be answering it right now. So I'm actually glad that I'm reacting to this. So let's hear the answer.
She was ranting about everybody who she doesn't like, crying over, like, girl, we saw it all before, and it was more entertaining in the member stream. But I do want to address one thing. And like I said before, I'm not going to do a back and forth with Amber Lynn.
But yet you are.
There's really no point to it. There's nothing
But yet you are.
I can say to her that's going to make her just all of a sudden be like, oh my gosh, you're right. I apologize.
Because you're not.
To
Hold
anyone.
on.
Her just all of a sudden be like, oh my gosh, you're right. I apologize to anyone.
Honey buns. Why would I apologize to you? Like, there's nothing to apologize to you for.
She's
Yeah, she's really forgetting the part where she basically threatened to give Salty Crab a channel strike. I don't remember if I actually did watch Salty Crab's video about Amberlynn's narcissism test. That is something I'm gonna look into. Generally, Salty Crab's videos fall under fair use for sure, so I feel like it wouldn't be any different. But yeah, I think she's forgetting the part where she basically threatened to give her a channel.
she's right about everything until the end of
I'm not right about everything. At all.
time.
She sure acts like it.
Even the things that she admits she did wrong, she has a reason for or an excuse. And it's usually blaming some
I bet you're not perfect. At all. I bet you made your fair share of mistakes.
My god. Be so for real. Be so for real. What do you mean? I need to watch that again.
the things that she admits she did wrong, she has a reason for or an excuse. And it's usually blaming some
I bet you're not perfect.
God, that's hilarious. I bet you're not perfect. That's always her response. People expect perfection from me. Oh, I bet you're not perfect. Not everyone's all good and not everyone's all bad. You're not perfect.
At all. I bet you made your fair share of mistakes. So it's like these people who want to like point their finger and be like, you're not perfect. Well, bro, you have several fingers pointed back at you.
Bro. Can you actually be for real? Seriously. It's always, oh, you want to criticize me for my actions? But you're not perfect. Smuglynn Reed.
Because neither are you.
someone
Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody has those days. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. Everybody gets that way.
else or her BPD. But she did
Oh, do you hear the mocking of her BPD? More mental health shaming.
Bro, how was the first one even mental health shaming? I think she was acting manic in her live stream. She wasn't like, she was acting manic. How embarrassing. She was like, oh, she was acting manic in her live stream. A very obvious statement. Oh, that's health shaming. Be so for real. The other part is, oh, she's making fun of my BPD. I think she just completely misses the part where some people do make fun of her for using BPD, saying she has BPD. The main reason people make fun of her for claiming to have BPD is because she hasn't done anything about it for the longest time. She uses it as an excuse. And then the other part is, it's like, I know it's hard to get proof for those sorts of things, like having certain mental illnesses. Like generally, especially when you've seen mental health professionals for a long time, it will be in doctor's reports. I don't know how America works, because you can obviously get referrals from GPs, general practitioners. In Australia, this is just through the public healthcare system that everyone has access to. You get 10 sessions, and during COVID it was different. During COVID, I think they gave you an extra 4 sessions. So generally you have 10 sessions for the whole year. And what happens is about half of that, maybe a bit more. I honestly don't really remember. And I pay for my appointments. But it's still a lot of money to pay out of pocket, but the government covers like a certain percentage, and that can the government can cover more if you've gone over something called the Medicare threshold or the safety net. Basically what that means is once you've spent a certain amount of money for the year, once you hit that safety net period, the government pays a majority majority of the appointments. So like to see my psychologist, usually it's I think about $80 out of pocket that I have to pay. So you pay for the appointment, and then the government reimburses you directly into your bank account the rest of the fees for the appointment. So you pay all of it up front, and then the government gives you percentage back. So generally, before I hit the Medicare safety net, the threshold, I generally have to pay $8. I wish $8. $80 out of pocket, and then after I hit the threshold, I get about $30 back. Oh, I pay $30 out of pocket. In saying that, so basically what happens is to get the 10 sessions, you need a referral from your GP to say this patient needs to continue or needs to start seeing this mental health clinician, person, psychologist, psychiatrist, this mental health professional. They need to continue seeing them. This is to confirm this is needed, basically. And so basically they do like a general mental health assessment and they write a report, and then this is to send off to the psychologist or the psychiatrist, whoever they're referring you to. And that basically is to say they're experiencing these conditions, they've been diagnosed with these conditions for however long, can you please continue to see them? The government will cover those 10 sessions. So generally also what happens is, so you do the 6 sessions and then there's just like a review to say like, hey, they need another 4 sessions to go to that 10 sessions per year. You can still continue to see your psychologist more than 10 times a year. You're just going to have to pay completely out of pocket. In saying that, the medical report will be, I guess, confirmation of having those diagnoses. Again, I don't know if it's the same as America, but yeah, that would be some kind of proof. But Amber Lynn doesn't have to put that information out there. Like, even if she like cropped out any reports, I don't think it's really necessary. I think it's necessary. I think part of it is, even if she did have like proof of a report and she cropped out whatever information she needed to, there would obviously still be people who don't believe her and think it's fake. But I think it would help if Amber Lynn, at the same time, not everyone's that skeptical, and it would probably create some kind of proof that she has a BPD diagnosis. But honestly, to an extent, I would say that's on Amber Lynn. In the sense of people not believing her, is a lot of it's her fault, purely because, again, she tends to just run with these diagnoses as like, oh, they mentioned I have sleep apnea. Oh, they didn't actually confirm I have sleep apnea. They just said I should look into that.
And she was like, yeah, that is sleep apnea. Like, she was just out in front with it, and she's like, it is. It's kind of scary to me that I didn't even need to do a sleep test for a doctor to straight out tell me that. So you have sleep apnea. Why did you say you didn't? Thank you for the super chat. And honestly, I have never been tested, so I can't say if I do or not.
And it's like, it's one thing to be recommended that you could have a specific health condition because certain events happened. Especially GPs will throw out any, well, again, the general practitioners. So unless you saw someone who specialized in that sort of thing, again, there's no confirmation until you do any tests. Even if there aren't tests that can test that specifically, there's still ways to cancel out things and find out. You know, GPs aren't just throwing it out there for nothing, but at the same time, a lot of GPs are just throwing possibilities out there. And it doesn't mean you should run with it. Essentially, GPs are making educated guesses on what could be happening, or they know exactly what's happening from your symptoms. They can suggest, oh, you might have this thing. Again, you still need to see them for a prolonged period of time to find out whether that's the case or not. And a lot of people don't believe that she has BPD is because she's seen people like BetterHelp, which aren't even like, a lot of them aren't even real mental health professionals in any capacity. And she always just runs with diagnoses. So, I mean, that's kind of on her, for real.
Like, when does it end?
Can ask me personally to tell her why in my video from almost a week ago, Amber, like, you're still going on about it, but...
And you still go on about things that happened years and years ago just because you need something to talk about.
On about things because you have nothing to talk about. It's like, it's not our fault. We can make more interesting content than whatever you put out. We can transform your content and make it more interesting in terms of an analysis perspective. Like, she's doing a shit job reacting right now. Oh, I bet you she didn't include Salty Crab's video because it would be so, not that Amber Lynn's not always hypocritical, but it'd be so hypocritical for her to have Salty Crab's, even a clip of Salty Crab's video in her video, because even though Salty Crab is fair use, she claims that Salty Crab isn't fair use, and it's just, honestly, it's so much work. Her mind is an enigma. That's why we like to go back and talk about old stuff, because it's interesting to look back in perspective. We realize, you know, hindsight's 2020. Like, people were saying stuff to Beck about, you know, get out now, like, this is a shitty situation, look at how she's treating Beck. It's just like, now Beck's like, well, this is, so Beck's like now realizing like how bad things were in the moment, in hindsight, well, how bad things were in hindsight at that moment. when it was happening.
Because your whole channel is monetized based on talking about me. So yeah, I am going to talk about something that happened a week ago that genuinely hurt my feelings, and my jaw was on the floor because I was like, making a joke out of my cancer is not okay.
Smuglynn Reed. Smuglynn Reed.
She wanted me to talk about or tell her why I called that character Raglan Bleed. Why did I use the word bleed? First of all, it was a stupid joke.
It's not a stupid joke. So if you say something that offends someone and it genuinely hurts their feelings, you apologize, right? Isn't that what you're trying to teach your audience, supposedly?
Well, that's because Salty Crab really thinks she didn't do anything that bad. And ultimately, I wouldn't say it's the worst thing ever. I personally, again, as I've mentioned before, I don't really agree with the bleed part. Raglan, honestly, is really funny. The bleed part, I think that's taking it a bit too far. And I think Ambulance, it's in her right to be upset about it. Her feelings are valid. But, I don't know, Smuglynn Reed.
Do it then. Or do you have too much ego? Too much pride? Afraid your audience is going to get mad at you?
You're so funny, Amber. Nah, Evelyn's the queen of projection. Queen of projection.
This is a silly joke. I wanted a word that
Not a silly joke.
rhymed with your last name, so I used the word
There's a lot of words that rhyme with read. I mean, I can think of one right now. Feed. That'd be a lot more funnier than bleed.
Yeah, it would.
bleed. But also, the joke was not about your cancer as
Yes, it was.
much as you try and say that it was. What it was really about was your laziness. The fact that you made
I do, again, even if she didn't really mean to make fun of Amberlyn's cancer, ultimately, the reason Amberlyn was bleeding that much, yes, it was due to her negligence, but it was ultimately her cancer that was causing, like, that significant bleeding, like, heavier bleeding than what would be normal.
the choice to not seek medical treatment when you knew that you should.
So, first of all, one of the very first things that I did when I was diagnosed with cancer, because I was told to do this, was join forums of other people who have the same cancer as me.
Where this doesn't have anything to do with what Salty Crab's actually talking about. Salty Crab's actually talking about how before she was even diagnosed with cancer, that she was having all these health conditions that were related to her cancer progressing and ultimately not doing anything about it. It's like she had all these opportunities to do something about her health. Still till this day, it's the same situation. And she just chooses to do nothing about it because she thinks she knows everything.
And in doing that, I realized we all had one thing in common. 95% of us waited and waited and waited. We had these symptoms and we just waited months, or some of us waited years. Some people waited even longer than me to see a gynecologist. And there is multiple reasons for that. Fear, embarrassment, feeling ashamed, anxiety. Some of us then begin to believe like, okay, maybe actually these symptoms are normal, or actually it's really not that big of a deal. I did go to the doctor. I actually went to the ER a few times, and
Yeah, like people have said before, even I've been to the ER many times. Like, yeah, I get you can have mental health reasons to why you choose to ignore those things. Cognitive dissonance, I believe it's called. It's just the fact that you say, oh, I did see a doctor. I went to the ER. The ER isn't a general practitioner. A general practitioner is someone you need to know your medical history. Even if you change doctors, you still have medical history from your previous GP. And usually you can get those transferred or some kind of information transferred between the two different clinics. But still, even if it's for mental health reasons, it's like mental illness reasons, I guess you could call it. It still doesn't excuse the fact that you had all these resources and you just didn't do anything about it. Ultimately, it's on you. And I think that's why Salty Crab made that, I guess you could call it, silly little joke. Because ultimately it was at the expense of other people and not just Amberlynn herself. The other thing is seeing an ER doctor, as I was saying just a moment ago, because I'm not good at keeping things straight. Essentially, seeing an ER doctor isn't going to do anything for you. I've been to the ER for physical health reasons. And if it's something that, it's not like they're going to do all these tests where they're trying to figure out your problem unless it's like life-threatening. So essentially when you go to an ER, they address people in order of urgency. And if it's an ongoing health issue that's not necessarily killing you in the moment, you need to see a general practitioner for that stuff. The general practitioner, again, will have all your history. They're able to refer you to other places to get more tests done. Not that a hospital can't. You need to see a general practitioner for ongoing health assessments and treatment, because a hospital isn't just going to address everything in a couple of sessions. And again, unless you're dying in that moment, they're not going to think to diagnose you and run all these tests because they just don't have the capacity for it, unfortunately. Even in Australia, and it would be the same in America and everywhere else in the world, to be referred off and actually get some kind of diagnosis somewhere, a lot of hospitals are short-staffed and people aren't getting paid enough to actually care enough. And in a place like America, that's even worse. Even if you're paying for it, it's the same shit.
Every single time I went, they told me I had all this blood and I had the pain in my back and it was due to a UTI or it was due to a bladder infection.
Because they probably ran pee tests and blood tests and the markers came up for an infection. And it's like, again, it's something like cancer. Unless you're really dying in that moment and there's some kind of test, they're not going to just run all these diagnoses. Like, they have other people that they're working on right in that moment at the same time as you. You need someone that you have rapport with to get some shit done. I think Evelyn thinks she's like in an episode of one of those like hospital shows like Grey's Anatomy or something. She thinks she goes in for one test and they're going to find all these things. Things like pee tests and blood tests are like very baseline things that they do when you get admitted into the hospital. Depending on what it's for, generally they'll always run a pee test and a blood test and they'll check they check everything. They check in with you, and if your symptoms are very vague and they think it's treatable, they're just going to send you home. You need to always follow up with your GP and be like, hey, this and this happened. I went to the hospital, and generally of your hospital visit and the results of those tests, or if not a report, they'll have the results from your tests.
And all of these things, but that wasn't the case. Should I have gone to a gynecologist sooner? Sure.
Yes.
Does that make me lazy? Fuck no.
Well, as Salty Crab discussed, she's able to force Beck to take her to Target, to take her to Cheesecake Factory, to go hang out with Destiny and Dana. It's like, yeah, I would say you're lazy in the sense that like it wasn't enough of a priority for you to actually go do that because you care more about hanging out with other people and food. And yeah, that could be due to your BPD and your ED, but it's not an excuse. It just is what it is.
Does that make anyone else who has also had uterine cancer?
You're criticizing me, so that means you're criticizing every person that's had cancer and didn't get it treated properly. Why are you criticizing my circumstances where I had enough money to go places, I had enough resources to go places, and I just didn't do anything about it? But these people that probably didn't have adequate access to these things also didn't have enough money to go do these things. Like Amberlynn, especially at that time, Amberlynn was very financially successful. So...
And they waited a really long time to be seen until they were diagnosed. Does that make them lazy? No.
Does that make them lazy? You're criticizing me for my circumstances, calling me lazy, but other people that had cancer and had to wait a long time, you're calling them lazy too.
Do they deserve to have a nickname like that? No.
Because you knew that, oh well,
Smuglynn Reed.
someone else will just come and clean up this mess for me.
Clean up this mess?
And when
God.
I say that you expected everyone to clean things up around you, you know exactly what I mean.
If you're talking about my blood, I made sure that was nowhere. There was blood nowhere.
That's not what she's talking about. Salty Crab's talking about when you had rags, soiled rags, and you got Beck. You weren't hand washing them yourself. Initially, you were throwing them away. Then you were getting Beck to hand wash them before putting them in the washing machine. That's what she's talking about.
If Amberlynn admitted to free bleeding, were you also expected during your time with Amber to clean up after all human bodily functions?
Yeah, I knew about the free bleeding, and I did have to sometimes clean up after it, but that's all I'll really say about that.
Did you guys ever remember that mattress that was out? That was one of the reasons it was in the living room, because
Yeah, and Beck still had to clean up after you. Beck had to take it into the living room and take it out of the living room. And that mattress was soiled. And this is either the mattress that they burned or a mattress that they just left there for the landlord. No, I think the apartment is where she left the mattress for the landlord to deal with this. I think this could be the mattress that Beck said they burned because it was so bad.
The only other mattress that we had to get rid of was the one that we slept on for years, and we ended up burning it before we moved to Lexington.
I was scared to
And that means Beck still had to clean up after her.
get blood anywhere. I never got it anywhere. If I wasn't wearing a pad, I was wearing a rag. I was very anal about that because it was embarrassing. Like, I was always bleeding. Sometimes it was heavier than other times, but it was just...
Yeah, but Beck still had to clean that for you.
Genuinely an awful experience, and it was very embarrassing.
Yeah, it is embarrassing, and it would have been really shitty. That's still not an excuse, man. Because ultimately, let's say you were skinny. Maybe not skinny. Let's say you were like 300 pounds lighter. And you still had the cancer issue. You wouldn't be in this position. No one would have to clean up. Well, you might still make someone clean up after you, but you wouldn't be in the position where someone has to do that. You would have been able to do it yourself. It's this whole, I had cancer, I was bleeding, I couldn't wipe myself. To some extent, I would say maybe like during the month after the surgery, maybe you would have had to have someone wipe after you, even if you were quote unquote skinny. It's the fact that you were so big that you couldn't even do that also before you had the cancer. We wouldn't be in this position.
I never made Beck do it. Who else was there? Oh, are you speaking about my roommates? Because I had roommates? Hell no, that is so embarrassing. That was 2 guys. Like, are you joking? I handled all of that by myself. Just because I was having all these symptoms, it didn't make me a selfish or disrespectful person. I wasn't gonna sit there and make a mess. Like, what? The fact that you're even insinuating that is hectic. And that's for a lack of a better word.
You're the one who said you had to use rags instead of using feminine products. But who washed those rags, Amber?
Me. What?
I don't know, there's a bit of hesitation in that. I just mean, look, we could be in some universe where she wasn't a habitual liar and we would believe her. It's just that she's clearly lied about so many things, big or small, to save her the embarrassment of, well, creating that cognitive dissonance where she can't even remember those things happening because she believes so hard that she didn't do those things because it's just so embarrassing. And it's like, why would Beck lie about that?
But do you think she believes her own lies?
I do think that she convinces herself that her lies are true because she wants them to be true. It's really hard to explain why I think that, but I feel like I've seen it happen.
Like when Beck, during the live stream after they broke up, and Beck goes, even though no one heard it, but she knew someone might be able to hear it, Beck goes, yeah, well, who's the one who's been wiping you? And Amber goes, you are.
Come here. Yeah,
Such a fucking lie. Oh my god.
That is not.
Would she say nothing to you at all and pretend her lies are real?
I don't know of actual instances, but I know that there were times where she would be like, make sure you don't mention this or that, just to make sure that things were kept straight.
It's like, she just really can't believe, she really needs to push so hard that she's a good person and everyone's lying about her or exaggerating things. And there are definitely people out there who do those things. It's always all or nothing mentality.
What?
Change those rags, Amber.
Me? What is happening? So you called me Raglan Bleed because you're assuming that Beck washed my rags. I genuinely...
We're not just assuming, we're going off what Beck said, which again, there's a reason why we believe Beck.
I think this person needs help. Like, more help than me. Like, I admit I need help, but so do you. What?
Okay, Dr. Lynn.
Denial is a river in Egypt.
Amber, who probably had to scrub those rags out in the
No one scrubbed a rag in a sink because of my cancer symptoms. That never happened.
sink.
Well, I don't think it was necessarily about Evelyn's cancer. I think it was just that Evelyn had a hard time wiping herself. Blood or poop or both. And I think that's her way of separating it from, well, she didn't wash my blood clots. Your blood clot. I think that's a way of separating it, that if maybe Beck didn't necessarily clean. And again, Evelyn was originally throwing those rags away. So maybe that's what she's speaking about. And then eventually Beck was like washing them. But maybe it's her way of separating that. Beck didn't clean my blood rags, but they did clean my poop rags.
Amber, bet it wasn't you, and you
It's all speculation, of course.
were just fine with
It was nobody.
them having to do it day after day.
Wait, it's because she threw away Ricky's rags, or was it Eric's? One of the two.
It was nobody.
Week after week, month after month, year after year. You intentionally did not go to the doctor.
I didn't intentionally not go to the doctor.
Smuglynn Feed, front and center. Yeah, maybe you didn't intentionally do it at the time, but to some extent it is intentional because you chose so many things over it.
For that, when other times you would go to the ER for cellulitis.
Yes, because cellulitis is an infection that if it gets in your blood, you can die. So yeah.
So what about dying from cancer? So this is kind of like part of it. It's like, oh, I care about dying from cellulitis, but even though I was aware that I probably have cancer or some kind of extreme illness, I don't want to think about dying from that.
Yeah, I did go to the ER for that. So I can be on antibiotics because that's the only way that cellulitis can go away. I'm not really going to talk about my diagnosis. Let's just say I'm going to heal with medicine, hopefully. It's not the flu or anything like that, which is kind of bittersweet. I almost wish it was the flu, but it's okay.
So you can also, unless it's really bad in the moment, that's why you need to have a regular GP. And even if you can't get an appointment with your regular GP, see another GP. I have to do that all the time. I love my GP. He's a very good GP. Unfortunately, spur of the moment things, I can't see him and I have to see another GP. It doesn't mean you have to go to the ER, unless, like when she had those vlogs, she really was unwell and you could see it.
I'm at the hospital. Look how dry my lips are. I've been trying to drink a lot of water though, but my temperature slowly rose even though I took NyQuil.
But if it's not cases like that, you need to see another GP. Essentially, if it's an emergency, go to the emergency room.
Sorry.
Or the time that you needed stitches in your hand.
Yes, I literally still have that scar. But yes, I needed stitches. I'm sorry. I stabbed myself in the hand with a knife.
This wasn't a case where you had a fear of the doctor.
This is genuinely like you invalidating my experience. But you know what? I don't expect anything less, anything more from you.
Smuglynn. I feel to some extent I can see why Amberlynn feels like she's invalidating her. It's just that she's honestly giving valid criticism for the things that happened.
No problems going to the ER. But in this situation, you decided to ignore it. You even admitted that you took an online quiz to see what was wrong rather than seeing a doctor. And even then, when the quiz told you what was probably wrong, it still took you another month before you went to the doctor.
Yeah, out of fear. And I also kept lying to myself because my whole life, like even in high school, I had irregular periods. Doctors always told me it was because of my weight. Like when you're really overweight and when you're really underweight, your periods are very irregular. So I did keep lying to myself. I was like, this is happening because of your weight. So the more I lied to myself, the more I made it seem like, oh, it's just because of my weight. So it still doesn't give you the right to make fun of the situation.
Yeah, I get that. But at the same time, who's in control of their weight? Also, the risk of getting cellulitis is greatly increased by having such a large amount of weight like ALR.
And when you did finally go to the doctor, you took pictures of your underwear and the crotch of your pants.
I did. Actually, it was Beck who took those pictures. We were absolutely shocked with how much blood I was losing. Like I was losing so much blood, and that was only the beginning of it, like the pictures that we did take, because then it got worse and worse. At that point, I was having to be rushed into an emergency DNC. I was losing so much blood that like I could have died. But yes, Beck had their phone and they were taking pictures because it was genuinely so shocking. And I remember Beck was texting my mom and like keeping my mom updated. And during that, Beck sent those photos to my mom because it's like when you're sitting there and you're like, yeah, Amberlynn is like gushing blood. You know, you imagine something, but you don't imagine like how bad it actually was.
And the
Yeah, but why did you post them online for everyone to see unless you really wanted sympathy? Like, it's one thing to post about doctor's visits, blah, blah, blah. It's also another thing to talk about bleeding heavily. Even as a long-term YouTuber, I feel like that's still really crazy to put that out there.
floor and all the blood everywhere, and you put them on Snapchat for your viewers to see.
Yes, I did put them on Snapchat. So this was during the time where I was like, I cannot believe that people think I am lying about cancer. And it was quite a few people. Like when Nikocado Avocado uploaded that video insinuating that I lied about cancer, like I was being harassed more than ever. And like it made my mental health so bad. I ended up filming a whole video, like bawling my eyes out. Like I showed my actual medical paperwork, which was really embarrassing.
It's one thing to show medical paperwork. It's another thing to show people your bleeding underwear. Like, that's actually crazy. And yeah, she is still very mentally unstable. Bro, you still did it.
And in that same like impulsive state of mind, I ended up posting those pictures on Snapchat as a way to be like, I did go through this. This is exactly what happened to me. Do I regret doing that? No, but it is
That's wild.
very pathetic that I even had to do that.
Well, that's the thing. Mental illness or not, that's why people criticize her so much. It's always, she knows how to say the right thing, and that's why people criticize her so much, because she's such a hypocrite. Oh, I don't care about the haters. Constantly talks about the haters. That's why people criticize her so much for these type of things.
That it actually got to that level that I had to show something so private. It honestly feels demeaning. And this person right here is like making fun of me because I did that. That's really, really sad.
If Salty Crab was making fun of her, she was just putting that fact out there that happened, and it's strange that she did that.
See, but you have a problem with me making a silly joke using the word bleed?
They don't have anything to do with each other.
Really, Amber? It's also come out that you ruin people's personal items
Because what?
because of the bleeding.
I never ruined anyone's personal items because of the bleeding.
So she's admitting that she pooped on Ricky or Eric's late mother's rags.
Nothing at all. Zero. Zippo. Nada.
You made your ex drag a mattress in and out of the living room for you to sit on it so you wouldn't make a mess.
That is actually the truth. I would have done it for Beck. When you're in a relationship and you think that you love the person, it's supposed to be a safe, comforting, caring environment.
So now you're admitting that Beck did actually care for you and did those things because they care for you and not just for the supposedly for the money.
Think for 2 seconds. I'm pretty sure you would have dragged the mattress into the living room as well if you wanted to hang out with your partner and you knew what they were experiencing. I think when people imagine my bleeding, I think they're imagining like Carrie. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that movie. It wasn't like that until I was rushed to the ER. Then it was very much like that. But on like an everyday basis, it wasn't like that. I did not get blood anywhere. So let me keep hearing why you're making fun of my cancer. Let's
She's making fun of my cancer.
keep going with your excuse because still, I don't get it.
And did you do anything about that? Did you try and get it looked at for at least 2 years?
Like I said, I went to the ER for it and I went to the doctor and they sent me home with a UTI and antibiotics.
Yeah, but did you see a regular GP? I don't think so.
No, because you thought, well, someone else will clean it up. I don't feel like
No one cleaned up anything. There was nothing to clean up.
going.
Right.
But somehow that's my fault for using a word, for saying the word bleed.
You are so dense. If you actually think that I'm upset because you used a word, you're making fun of me.
That's the point. She's the word bleed, and it's, well, she wouldn't be happy that she's making fun of her, but she's extra pissed about the bleed part, so I don't know what you're talking about, Amber.
You're making fun of an experience that altered my whole life.
Really? And before you fix your mouth to call me an ableist again
You are.
and try and say that
You are.
your medical issues were due to your size,
They are.
you sure had no problem getting to Lexington 20.
What? During that era of my life, I went to Lexington maybe once. I'm finding it hard to understand like what that has to do with you making fun of my cancer. Like you're reaching so far that I am in fear you're going to pull a muscle. So calm down, please.
Okay, Smuglynn. Nah, but be for real. She's bringing this, and again, I'm not excusing what Salty Crab said. I don't agree with the bleed part, but she's bringing all this up because ultimately it all circles around back to your weight. And yes, even skinny people get cancer too, but the unfortunate reality is being at your size significantly increases the amount of that cancer happening.
7 times to go to the Cheesecake Factory. So how is there a problem getting to the doctor? Maybe if the gynecologist would have served orange chicken, you would have gotten checked out sooner. But
There it is. You're ableist, girl. Just
Bro, as someone who actually has, I guess you could call them multiple disabilities, that's actually wild. Ultimately, whether you have PCOS, lipodema, and lymphedema, as someone who has the financial resources and accessibility to certain programs and health professionals, you sure talk a lot of shit.
admit it. You're fat phobic, you're biased, you lack empathy and sympathy, and you can't admit when you're wrong. Sorry, I'm trying to find my sympathy bone. My sympathy. I'm sorry. I don't care.
that's
The pot calling the kettle black.
all you're getting from me, Amber. Now.
Rules for me, but not for thee. Okay, you guys, so
That's rich coming from Amber. Rules for thee, but not for me. Girl, bye. Hey guys, thanks for sticking around for this video. If you like my opinions or thoughts, please give me a like and subscribe for future videos. I do plan on having a video out about Amber's livestream. It's just a bit tedious for me, and it's definitely a long one. This actually wasn't meant to be my first video, but it is what it is. I had a lot of thoughts about this, as you can tell. Also, if you've stuck around to the end, put in the comments how many times little Amber appeared. Anyways, I hope you have a good one. See you next time. Bye.
super freaking tasty. Like, I do this a lot. Like, I absolutely think so.